All right, good morning, everyone. Let's get straight to it. Ryan Garcia'S racist rant. I was a little late to the party. I was on vacation and I wasn't spending much time on social media while I was out. I did see a few tweets of Ryan Garcia. I did see the outrage, but I didn't hear the actual audio. Once I heard a snippet of the audio yesterday, I found a video on YouTube that had the entire audio on the Spaces conversation that Ryan Garcia had. It was one of the worst things I've ever heard from a professional, from a celebrity, whatever way you want to call it. It was one of the worst things that I heard. Now, once I saw some of the tweets that he said, I saw people defending Ryan Garcia. I didn't even know that the audio was out. I didn't know it had to do with an audio. I knew it had to do with him making racist remarks, but I thought, again, it was the tweets. So I saw people defending him. I did notice that, and I'll speak on that shortly. But it's not even about the N-bomb that was bad. That was bad, but it's not even about that to me. I'm a little bit more numb to the word than others. When he said, "I want to bring George Floyd back so I can kill him again," that's not something that you could be apologetic. Like, that's not something that you can just say it's mental health. There's a difference between mental health and just not being a good person. And leading all the way up into this racist rant, Ryan Garcia has shown us that he's not a good person. Yeah, he might have mental health issues, right? I don't know if he's drunk. I don't know if he's on drugs. I mean, when he's slurring in his speech every time he talks now, I think he might be high on something. He could be, right? But I don't know. But when you say some of the things that he said, there was a few things that he said. You can tell that he believed that, he felt that in his heart. That's how he feels as a person. That's probably something that he grew up believing. That might have been taught. He might have heard that in his household. He can clearly tell that he's had this conversation. When you bring up the ER thing with the ER in the hospital like that, like the way he did, and you say it repeatedly like the way you said it, and those people that's on Spaces with you is gassing you up to repeat what you said because they believe so strongly in what you said, that's coming from the heart. You believe what you said. You're not just angry. You're not angry at all. You're just saying how you feel. And as much as you like to hang out with these rappers, these black rappers, and do the dances and sing the lyrics to the songs and go to their concerts and all these people that stood behind you, and no one knew he was going to go on a racist rant like this. No one knew that, but for the people that's been defending him, going on the internet, and even the comments about Muslims and stuff. He said a lot. He said the comments about the Muslims, the comments about the N-word, the comments about George Floyd, even threw Michael B. Jordan in the mix. These are a vicious onslaught of words against certain groups of people. These are things that he believed in. And it shows you a lot. It exposes a lot for the people that are not really in tune with people like him. He can still say those words and be hanging out with Wiz Khalifa right after that, or like hanging out with YG, prepping for his fight with Floyd Mayweather. He can still be trying to be best buds with Tank Davis. These are the things that people like him do. You can still hate certain groups of people, whether it's race-based, religious-based, whatever, and still be in the mix. And people can still, what else it shows you? People can still defend him. Because I watch, I might not be on X much, I might not be on social media much. I get it. I wish I did post a little bit more on my Instagram. And, I wish I did tweet more with you guys. But it's not a good place, to always be on, at least for me. It's more negative than positive on there. But I'm aware, I do follow content creators in the boxing world. I do follow the media, because I want to know, I want to be aware of what's going on. I want to see what these guys are saying, because that it's just good to be informed, you know? Yeah, there's a certain part of it, a certain level of it where I don't want to get too involved in it because a lot of it is really toxic. But I like to be fully aware of what's going on. Like, I want to know how you guys feel. Some of you guys I don't even like, but I follow you for the information. I want to know what you are saying because maybe you have a voice, maybe you have a following, and I want to know what the people that are following you are saying. I need to know what the boxing community is saying so I have a better understanding on how people feel going into these fights. But this is not about the fight at all, and people are defending him still. What I will say about Ryan Garcia, and I wouldn't call it courage again because I don't know if he was sober or not, but at least for him, he had the courage, at least that night, to say how he really feels and not hide. Like a lot of people have to because they have to be professional. That's how people truly feel. These are the conversations that people have behind closed doors. You know what I mean? These are the conversations that people really have. This is how people really feel. I always say to you guys, I said this, you guys have heard me say it probably 100 times now. There's a difference between racial bias and prejudice. All right? I think they mix them up a lot. There is a difference. One of them happened to be okay and normal, which is racial bias. If you're going to root for a fighter because he looks more like you, or he's from where you're from, or she's from where you're from, or whatever, it's normal. People are going to root for the person that looks like them or is from where they're from, that they could relate to a little bit more. It's only natural, and there's nothing wrong with that. The only thing that's wrong with it is when you're supposed to be fair. If you're doing media, if you're a journalist, you're supposed to be fair. You're supposed to report the fight as news, as the facts. You're supposed to put the facts out there. You're not supposed to just try to push narratives and stuff, which is what unfortunately a lot of the media guys do. But as a fan, it's okay for you to be a fan of a group or a fighter that looks like you or is from where you're from. But prejudice is totally different. And social media has made it safe where people can publicly be hateful towards groups of people without no consequences. So you can hide behind that. You don't have to show your face. You can just go out there and talk and be as disrespectful as you want. Look on X. Look on Instagram. Look at the comments that people leave on YouTube videos. Look at what people are saying. Ryan Garcia went on there and said how a lot of people truly felt about someone that had nothing to do with Devin Haney or anything. Nothing boxing related. George Floyd is dead. He's been dead for 4 years now. 2020. Why are you even bringing him up? And when it comes to politics, which I don't talk about on this channel, but for whoever who was gassing him, whoever was the host of that Spaces rant, he threw in there like, we should change the title to Trump 2024 something. Like, this is why people vote for everything outside of the actual politics itself, because they focus more on the following of the Republican candidate or the Democrat candidate and their followers and their supporters. They just want to vote against that other group because they believe that a lot of people vote against Trump because they think that group of what Ryan and those guys support, and I don't want to dig too much into politics, but just for this one moment, a lot of people are voting against him because they believe his following is mostly like these guys. And the same with Biden. A lot of his supporters that are stupid or racist, because he has racist supporters too, they vote against him for those same reasons. You know, they don't care about policies. They don't care about how these presidents might affect them directly when it comes to their taxes or whatever. They don't care about that. They care about this group likes this guy, that Space's rant was bad on all levels. For me personally, I've been numb to the N word for a long time, even when it's been said in a disrespectful tone. Me personally, I've been called it so many times at a younger age that I'm just numb to it. You know, I like to look at the good in people. So when you're not a good person, I fall back. I distance myself from you, whether you're black, white, Hispanic, Asian, whatever it is you are. Good people are good people. If I think you're a good person, and that's who I want to be around. I like to be around good energy, period. So whether you're racist or not, I understand that a lot of people are racist behind closed door, but I'm not thinking about it all day. It's not on my mind like that. I'm not thinking about what white people and the Latino community is thinking about or how they feel about me all day, because it's not going to affect the way I move. It's not going to stop me. It's not going to make me feel insecure. It's not going to make me have an inferiority complex from being black. That's just not the way I move. I got too much I got to do in life to be concerned about the next person. So it didn't hurt me because it didn't come from a person that I respect. I don't respect Ryan Garcia. I think very little of him. I know he's rich. I know he has way more money than I do, but there's nothing about him that I respect. I think less of him, and people that think like him, and that's the only way that I look at it personally. But for Ryan, I do think he's done. I don't think any promoter, well, you never know because I've seen crazier things when it comes to boxing, but I don't think anyone's going to really want to touch him or deal with him after that racist rant because it's just going to make you look bad. You know what I mean? So I don't know where Ryan goes from here. But again, let's not mix and get confused that mental health and being a legit racist or like being a bad person, those are two different things. And Ryan has shown us that he's not a good person. And for the people that's defending him all this time, since the drug test, since the weight thing, since his arrest and all of these tweets that he said, he's completely unpredictable. Why would you defend someone that unpredictable? Excuse me. You don't know what the guy is going to say tomorrow. You might defend him today based on what he says today. Tomorrow he's a completely different person. That's not a guy you align yourself with. He goes off the rails. He is not someone that you can count on. So for the people that defended him through his process, and you got to remember, I have not made any content on Ryan and Devin. I read a comment this morning of someone getting mad at me for not addressing it yet after I made a post-fight video on Shakur. I made a post-fight video on Shakur and William Zepeda and Oshaki Foster because they fought last night. And now that I have the time to do content, I prioritize the boxing over the gossip. The gossip is anything outside of sport. Guys that's talking on social media is gossip to me. No matter how bad it is, it's still gossip to me. Because this is unboxing related. He's talking about George Floyd. He's talking about Michael B. Jordan and Muslims and religion. He's not talking about boxing. It's gossip to me. No matter how extreme or what things are said, it's gossip. So I prioritize boxing. But I knew I was going to make this video this morning. Again, my father said something last night. Because I sent him the video after the rant. And the thing about Ryan Garcia, and he said this, Ryan Garcia had too much spirit in what he said. There's no way you can apologize for that because he had too much spirit in what was said. He felt that. He really had that in his heart. So there's no coming back from that. Maybe he could get better as a person. Yeah, he could down the line. Because people still can get better as a person, but he's going to have to seek help. He's going to really have to at some point. And that's the only way that I look at it. I've heard other racist rants from celebrities, in the past, I heard Eminem, a tape that he made about an ex-girlfriend when he was young. Mel Gibson went on a racist rant. Hulk Hogan went on a racist rant. I could name more people, but, those are the three that popped up in my head right now. Don Imus, he made a racist comment. Again, people feel how they feel, man. And the way I look at it is there's a difference between people that know how to keep their mouth shut about it and others that can't. And Ryan Garcia being so unpredictable, he just couldn't keep his mouth shut. He hasn't kept his mouth shut for the last few months. And people defending him. Also, watch out for the people, because I see you. Watch out for the people that try to redirect the energy towards another boxer and what they've done in the past to get the heat off Ryan. Those are the people that truly, they feel the same way. They feel the same way. What he said was disgusting. And if you truly feel that he was wrong, you should speak on it and say that instead of trying to focus on what somebody else said or what somebody else did to get arrested. Or it's bad. Anyway, it should be bad. You know what? Racism is always going to exist. But you know what? People are selective with their racism, with their outrage, which is another problem. If you really feel like you want to get rid of racism, if you really want racism to end, it will have to go full circle. And that'll never be that way. Because people are going to always hate you because of who you are if you're different. It's never going to change. That's why I don't focus it on it. I don't make a bunch of content talking about racism. For what? It's always going to be there. It's never going to go anywhere. People are going to feel the way they feel. Even if they're quiet about it, people are always going to feel what they feel. Ryan is a perfect example of that. He's going to be around a bunch of black folks, but feel how he feels about them like he just exposed. You know what I mean? Anyway, I hope that is a good enough video for you guys. And, I know you guys want to hear it. I'll speak more on Devin Haney and what he should do moving forward as far as him. I think Ryan is done, but I wouldn't be surprised if someone still picks up Ryan Garcia for a fight. This is where people make money. I don't know how it's going to work with his current relationship with Golden Boy. And it's going to be a very awkward experience the next meeting he has with Bernard Hopkins and next phone call he has with Floyd and all the guys that he's cool with. I seen that he was with Wiz Khalifa last night, so I don't know, man. I don't know. All right, I'm out of here. Y'all have a good day. Peace.